Welcome back to the Film Cynics on C-FAX 1070. Steve and Brian sitting on a Sunday afternoon talking movies, TV, and pop culture.
Who wants a DVD review?
We're joined this week by the Mad Hatter all the way from Toronto, who's going to help us break apart this latest release of How to Train Your Dragon, starring Jay Baruchel and, I guess
Butler,
America Ferrera. And, yeah,
what? That's your go-to voice when listing off.
She's the love interest, and she's Ugly Betty. What?
Whatever. Fail on that one.
So this is a DreamWorks animation project. It was in 3D when I saw it, and it actually worked out pretty well. And from what I've seen when I was taking it home, it translates very well without the 3D.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those movies, like, I remember we went and saw it together on a weekend night on a Saturday. Me and our friend Jack went, and it was like
some weird 30-somethings at a kid's movie.
30-year-old guys walk into a showing of How to Train Your Dragon, and we were pleasantly surprised. Like, I had no idea what to expect, and I walked out of it so happy and just entertained. Like, it was entertainment from beginning to end.
Hatter, what was your experience?
Loved it. It's been 6 months now. It's still sitting as one of my favorite films of this year. And like you guys say, it was an absolute treat to see this in 3D on a big screen. It's one of the very few films that I think has actually used 3D properly and made it worthwhile.
Yeah, that and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, I thought, also did a very good job of using the third dimension properly. I think it did a very cool job with the story. I don't want to give too much away, but the basics of the plot are this young boy Hiccup. He's a bit of a misfit Viking, and he wants to be like everybody else. And what does everybody else do? Well, they fight dragons, because dragons are the big pest in their at their little island. So he actually, in trying to prove himself, managed to shoot down a dragon, and as he's about to get rid of it, he's about to put it out of its misery so he can be like everyone else, he decides to keep this dragon, he calls Toothless, alive, and starts learning about what dragons are all about, eventually becomes a big celebrity as far as being a dragon tamer, and then things fall apart and things tend to. I guess that's the gist.
Sounds about right.
That's a good gist.
But what I found with this, I mean, the story was very original, even though, I mean, it's an adapted from a kid's book, so it wasn't an original idea, it's an adapted screenplay. But while I thought that some of the family elements of, Hiccup wanting to prove himself to his dad and wanted to be accepted, that was run-of-the-mill. Some of the other stuff was very interesting, like the relationship with the dragons, and so this sort of subtle environmental message, or maybe not so subtle. And as it went along, the really subtle message that I came across was the talk about disabilities and people dealing with amputated limbs. So you get all these Vikings that are missing limbs. They have artificial hands, artificial legs. Craig Ferguson's character's got an artificial hand and leg. Toothless, when he gets shot down, loses part of his tail, can't fly. So Hiccup's got to build a prosthesis for him in order so that he can fly again. And only that's how they are able to get this sort of symbiotic relationship going on. And then, really, sorry not to give anything away, but Hiccup loses a leg at the end, and he's got an artificial leg. So we wind up with another case of people sort of surviving adversity through prosthesis.
And it's also just taking a deeper look at who you consider to be the pest or the enemy or the other side, and trying to understand what they're actually all about.
Yeah, I mean there were elements in there. I think it was best summed up when he says, I saw him and I saw myself, and I guess that's maybe as subversive as the environmental movement can be to the naysayers, and just sort of go, okay, look, I mean, we're not. It doesn't have to be an us and them kind of situation.
That's right.
And one of the things that I really enjoyed about seeing this in the theater in 3D was the use of the 3D in all the flying sequences. I thought they did an amazing job, and it really added to the film. How does it translate, though, now that I'm at home and I'm on my little screen watching it in 2D? Like, does it still stand up? Okay,
well, I'll warn you, you don't have to press your face right up against your TV screen in order to get the most out of it. Fortunately, this is a well-crafted movie, and the music actually really does most of the work for you. You'll find that in a lot of movies like me that have been great without the use of 3D before this. And how does it really get the momentum going? It's the music. It's the chugga-chugga that gets everybody pumped up as you're soaring through the clouds and maybe dodging through rocks and whatever. So yeah, that's there. Plus the momentum of just like the great animation that they have going on. I mean, I think people are now expecting more from their 3D, but really what's great that we've got going on now is that the state of the art of CG animation period is just fantastic.
Yeah, well, the other cool thing that they did, boys, was that they brought in Roger Deakins to
That's right.
basically to advise. And Roger Deakins, he's the director of photography who usually works with the Coen brothers. And what he brought to the table is just this amazing visual aspect where you've got these sweeping camera moves that look like aerial photography. Like you're almost watching these flight sequences like you would a dog fight or those videos that you see on TV late night of like a plane flying over Canada. It really, really does give you the sense that what you're watching is aerial photography and not just CG animation. And believe me, Brian, that looks glorious still in 2D on your TV.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I had totally forgotten about Deacon's involvement. Yeah, he's among my top 5 favorite directors of photography. He's like the replacement for Conrad Hall as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, he has this strange role. His title is visual consultant because I guess if it's animated, that's you're not actually shooting a camera.
You're not directing any photographs.
Yeah, he's just sort of standing over the shoulder of the animators and getting them to do what they want.
That's true.
So yeah, the packaging. I actually came with 2 different DVDs with this Legend of the Bone Napper Dragon that on the Blu-ray comes in the package, but is actually a separate entity altogether in the DVD version, even though this thing is only 16 minutes long. But that's not to say that it's not very funny and kind of enriches the experience, because it is.
Is the original voice cast?
Yes, and it's done with, like, it's not lo-fi animation. It still looks really good. There's still a ton of other features on this. So yeah, I mean, there's making ofs, there's deleted scenes, there's all kinds of great stuff in this package. So yeah, altogether a great release. I don't know why they decided to put it on a Friday. Unlike when they generally put things out on Tuesdays. I guess DreamWorks really felt they had a hit on their hands and they had to do something about it. They wanted
to stand out from the crowd.
And they did.
Sometimes. Did they make any mention of the sequel that they're working on at all in the features?
No. But I mean, I know I guess DreamWorks sort of dodges in and out with these things, right? Because I think now they're heavy in production for Kung Fu Panda, the sequel.
Right.
Yeah, so DreamWorks has got too many projects on their plate. I guess it's hard to keep track of what they're going to hype for. So, Brian, what are you going to give it?
Oh, I'm giving this a definite keeper. It was a highlight of a movie-going experience in the theater when we went to see it, and I just walked out of there just loving it, and I couldn't wait to get it. So hopefully I can find a copy of it somewhere. Probably in the store when you go buy it like a normal person.
Sounds enthusiastic to me. Matt Hatter, what are you saying?
This is an absolute keeper. This is, for me, this was a day of release buy, and as I say, this is still one of my very favorite films of the year. So run, don't walk to
nice. Now, there's an endorsement. I'm definitely giving it a keeper. I'm very happy to have it in my collection. I might even let my 3-year-old watch it. Okay, we're going to take a news break. When we come back, we're going to be reviewing the Martin Scorsese collection. Stay with us.